all the ribs are sorted into various piles, all paired up, numbered, etc. The only query I've got is with a rib number WD1. I've only got one, so that means either it's in that box full of rubbish, which is good because it's all in there, but I wouldn't have thought I could have lost a rib. I can always make one, no big deal. That's WU1. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm going to have to make, I can't just use it because I'm going to not have a template if I do. So basically I've got all the WDs on this side, they turn into WUs, and then there's a few WM pieces. W is wing, of course. I've got my strip wood here, trailing edges, main spars. I've got a couple more over there. So I'm ready to go. Everything's sorted. Sheeting in a little pile, but all sorted. All the edges are sanded. So yeah, it probably took a couple of hours to do all of that. You will see before you starboard aileron. And that's where I'm going to start. This is good. What's the time? Oh, 20 to midnight. Oh well, let's crack on. Put the pins in here. Well, there's no markings on that aileron. Any on that one? Or there's some on this one. Look. Let's just hold that across and see what we need here. A9 and A10. That's the corner pieces. Know where they are immediately. A9 and A10. There and there. Like that. And there's a couple of little ribs go on the top of those, and they are A2s, and then an A1 right at the end. A2s and an A1 right at the end. And then I need one of these. Oh, it's A1, yeah. A1 goes on there. I didn't cut it out because I couldn't mark them up. In fact, they're the bits that take the aileron horns. Put that on there, give it a little wiggle. Make sure those rib slots line up. If you're watching this and wondering why I'm using CA and white glue, it's just the CA dries instantly and will hold the piece in position while the slower drying white glue sets off. There we are, starboard aileron built. Okay guys, so I'm going to start the port upper wing, and the easiest way to do it is there's two bits here that interlock. I think I'm going to glue these bits together, let them set up for an hour, and the main, oh it's broken that one, the main spar, this very flimsy piece of 1mm ply I guess, and the bottom spar I'm going to glue on, and then I can set that up because I can't glue the other spar on because this rib has to lock down into it, but I can peg that on afterwards. So I'm just going to glue that on there, and I'm going to glue this on here, and then I can start setting the wing up properly. And I'm guessing the best way to do this will be to sort of pin it down a bit, which is why I'm doing it up here. I'm going to put the pin like this and I'll weight it down. This will just hold it in position for me. Also want to make sure it's absolutely straight, so when I lay it on the board, the wing is flat. Okay, that's held in position. Right, there's a little step here which is for the sheeting under the front, so I've got to make sure I don't gam that up with too much glue. Okay, drop that in there to the exact length. Okay, we'll let that one set, and let's just glue this one up. This one I think is going to be slightly different. It basically holds itself where it needs to go, apart from this end which doesn't have a slot, so I'm going to have to just pin it down to make sure that's still going to be slightly flexible after the event, which is okay. My aim is to do a little bit every day, and if I can do that, then the model keeps moving forwards. If you stop, then psychologically the model is moving backwards. Noting this end is the one with the slopey end because it slopes down to the wingtip. Just give that glue a bit of a spread out. Right, we'll let that set and I'll come back to it in an hour or two. So we'll pop it all apart, start the assembly. That will go there. So these ribs fit, the half ribs fit on there like that. WU3 goes in there. That sits in there like that. This is really a very, very nicely sorted kit. Goes there, that goes there, clips in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 more of those. Oh, another one again. One there. It's plywood and it's got an angle inside it to pick up that top strut mounting. The WU6s go either side to form a box like that. I think it might be an idea to laminate these together. So what am I missing now? The metal bar will have to be set after I slid it in and line the hole up with what's in the middle section. I have a feeling Rob made up, I seem to remember him saying he made up the wingtip sections on the bench, and then just put them in one unit. The ends in there. Need a pin in there, and also need a little bit of packing under there. It's floating up the air slightly, so I think that'll be a good idea. Lovely. I think most of this is going to be assembled with white glue, you know. It's not a rush, is it? Right, I'm not going to bore you by fitting all of these wing ribs. I'd edit it out anyway, so I may as well save a little bit of computer what do you call it, energy, and switch off and come back to you in a little while. Alright, so all the ribs glued in, and I'm just going to pop in the top main spar, push that shear web forward a little bit. There we go, it's going in now. Lovely. On the pin. Look at that, what a fit. Right, I think that's all I can do this evening. Oops, I can't put the end rib on because I just want to make sure it's sanded flush, and besides which the carbon spar is just slightly too long, so I want to give that end a nice good sand smooth. The rib is at 90 degrees, which is important. Okay, I've pulled the wing off. There was a little riblet I didn't spot, that one at the end there, WD16. It looks good. I've taken the, I've just dropped some CA on the bottom of these to make sure they're covered. Sanded the end rib, as I said I would. Popped in the wing joiner. And now I'm going to stick on the end rib, WU0. I'm going to use white glue. Thing to make sure is that the slot in the back of the rib is lined up with the slot in the back there, because that's where your bar is going to go, so it doesn't want to be above or below, it just wants to be in that perfect place. If you're not sure, you can get the piece out, but it wants to be level with the bottom of that, so that's the critical thing. At the front it fits over the little bit sticking out of the carbon tube, so I'm going to stick that on with white glue, and then I can put on the servo tray mount, which doesn't go that way round. Doesn't go that way round, it goes that way round. Okay, so you've got a little piece of ply, you've got a thicker piece of ply this side than that side, and the reason is when you put your servo tray in, which goes in first, that only goes in, that's the same all the way around. Okay, doesn't matter which way round you put it, could go that way, but this, if I put it back to front, as you can see, it's all offset on the servo mount, tray mount, so it goes that way around, and then everything's nice and square and lines up. Because the metal bar at the back is going to be epoxied to this plywood, then this plywood better be, pardon me, better be epoxied to the wing ribs, the ply ribs. So that's what I'm going to do next. And I'm also going to put epoxy around the tube onto the ply ribs, so a bit of epoxy to do there. The first job is to fit this rib, and I'll use white glue, and I'll just put some pegs on for a little bit, then I'll do those other bits. A quick update, chaps. I've got the second wing up to basically complete. Quite happy with that. Made a bit of a boo-boo on the main spar. I made the main spar up with a 1/4 inch main spar already stuck to it, and when it was set, came to fit it, I'd realised I stuck it the wrong side, so I had to carefully knife it off and stick it on the other side. That was silly. Also made a bit of a boo-boo on the port wing. What did you do, Cliff? Well, I said I was going to epoxy the ply plates in, or at least the one that, this one here, and the main tube. I just sheeted this, by the way. You've got to angle down the sheet at the front edge. This bit is like a bit of hardboard and it's snapped, but never mind. All glued up now, but taper it down to fit before you fit it. Yeah, anyway, what did I do? Well, I mixed up all the epoxy, and while I was mixing it, I was distracted momentarily by my other half, and I finished mixing. I put on the second lot, the hardener in, mixed it all up, applied it all, and set it to dry. Half an hour later I come back and it's still uncured. Yep, I mixed 2 hardeners together, or 2 adhesive, I don't know which. So I had to pull it off, scrape it all off, clean it off, and start again. Anyway, second time in, it's gone nice. So that's now port and starboard wings made up, and I'm going to start on the mid wings next, so I'll show you when I've done those. Okay, here's the port center wing, middle wing, the lovely curvy bit there, that drying, and I've made up the other wingtips, which you can do in advance. So as soon as this one's dry, I'll move it along and do the starboard wingtip. Wing rather, which is hanging off the table for the minute. Great stuff. Okay, and the wood pile is shrinking rapidly now. Look at that. That's all that's left to build 2 more wings. Oh, I hope there's enough. And then there's the box full of machine gun parts and engine parts. Guys, you rejoin me at a exciting moment. This is the last wing to come off the board. First wing took me about 2 hours to build. This one took me about half an hour. My technique is you stick the bottom main spar to the shear webbing, laying it flat on the ruler so as it guaranteed it flat sideways. You then pin it to the board. You put in some of your W4s. See, I know all the numbers. They're not all W4s. Put in some of your W4s. That sets the distance for the trailing edge. Butt it up tight, pin it in. So now you've got the perfect gap. Put in all your ribs. Make up these, which take the struts. Different ribs for different positions. I made up the wingtip sections all in one go, which comprises of the tip rib, this bit, 1, 2, 3 pieces. You can make all those up in advance, so that's one section. You then stick in each rib, the big ribs. When they're in, stick in your riblets, half ribs. I then put the carbon leading edge on, put it in place, pin it back so as it's tight against the rib, like that. 3 or 4 places, CA, CA on the big ribs, and then go back to the small ribs, a little bit of CA, and just move them in position. You'll notice the plan is slightly smaller than the actual aeroplane, so what I did, I built it from the rib and let anything else sticking out on the end, because it meant that I could fix the tip rib in place. Anything left, I've got about 1 millimetre hanging over the end and about 0.5 mil on the carbon rod. I can now sand that nice and flat to that rib once it's off, which it is. When that's off, when that's sanded, I can then put in my tube. I can put that in. I sand first because it sticks out slightly, so you may as well sand it first. So let's quickly do that. Just give it a little key in on the surface. Can't hurt it, can only help it. On the other wings there's 3 ribs to push through, but on this one only the 1. Make sure it's flat. Okay, bit of CA just to hold it, and I'm going to go over with epoxy to take out any slight irregularities in the wood, because it is set in at an angle to take account of the dihedral. So obviously it's not absolutely perfect fit because it only touches where it touches. So this one goes on the end like that. And the important thing to get exactly right is the slot at the back where the wing joiner goes. It also sets the angle of incidence, so you don't want to get that wrong. You can use a piece of the metal, but I found a lolly stick is exactly the same size, so what I do is just make sure that that is nice and central on that, and you can't go wrong. So we'll just pop on some glue. Okay, pop that on now, put it over the tube in there, and line that slot up, and then just pop a load of pegs on, hold it in place. It's a nice amount of wood above the rib there for the sheeting, front sheeting to go on. I won't put the back sheeting on. Can I? No, I've got to epoxy it first, then I can put the back sheeting on. Here's one I've just finished. Just put the sheeting on front and back. I put the top piece on first, we'll cut it to size, angle the front so as it sits down over the carbon leading edge. I put a bit of white glue on the lip, but basically put it down, and you can put CA in from the inside because this bit's not here. CA it all on, and then finally when you come to the front, push it to the front. Well, actually I just put a bit of CA on the carbon rod, push it down, and using something stiff and hard like this lolly stick, just push it down together like that, and you can run a bit more in the front, and that's job done. Similarly on the bottom, and there you've got to use white glue, of course, because you can't get in there apart from the holes in the rib, which I haven't used. So that comes out pretty good then, but it's worth fettling this for a little bit because it saves a big chunk of ugly chunk on the leading edge. So what I'm going to do now is mix up some epoxy in my carbon tubes, and then I can focus on getting the sheeting on, and that will be the wings finished. Oh, incidentally, I did find that I'd lost one of the wing ribs and another little part. Searched in my little piles, I've got 3 piles, no sign, but I have kept all the balsa, all the offcuts here. Everything has gone in here, just in case I couldn't find a piece, and sure enough it was in there. The rib was down there, and so was the piece. The piece I wanted was in the middle of here. So keep everything until you're finished. Absolutely everything. Just went all in there. So thanks for watching. Well, I haven't shaved. Look, I haven't shaved for 2 days. Well, 1 day, 1.5 days. Looking a right scruff. But this is more important. Cheers, guys.